Hey, welcome back to Michael Tells. I'm Michael. Before we start, the story you're about to hear is a real first-person confession. Someone actually lived through this. So get comfortable and just listen. And if it moves you, even a little, dropping a like really does help the channel more than you'd think. And subscribing means you won't miss the next one. No pressure, only if it's earned. All right, let's get into it.
You want to know the one thing nobody at our wedding is gonna know? Not her friends, not my brother, not even her. Especially not her. I'm the only person left alive who knows the whole truth about how the two of us got here. And I carry it around every single day. This thing, like a stone in my coat pocket that never comes out. Okay, let me back up. Because if I just hand you the ending, it's gonna sound like some little fairy tale. And it is not that. It's the least clean thing I've ever lived through. And I lived through it with my eyes open. My name's Robert Callahan. I'm 35 years old, and I've lived in Queens basically my whole life. Sunnyside. Same handful of blocks I grew up on, same subway stop. The 7 train. You can set your watch by how much I've complained about that train. I work over at a hardware store on Greenpoint Avenue, and on the side, I do repair calls. Appliances, boilers, that window unit that quits on you in the middle of August. People call me, I show up, I fix the thing, they pay me. I'm good with my hands, always have been. It's the rest of me that took a while to figure out. I'm not a talker. I want you to know that going in. I'm the guy who fixes your problem and doesn't say much doing it. So the fact that I'm sitting here telling you the most private thing that ever happened to me, that should tell you something about how much it's been eating at me. Her name is Mary. Mary. She's 28, and she is the love of my life. I don't say that the way people throw it around. I mean it clinically, like a fact, like the boiler pressures at 12 psi. Mary is the love of my life. That's just the reading. We met the boring way. She came into the store. She just bought a little place, well, rented, a 1-bedroom over in Woodside, and she needed a whole list of stuff, and she had it written out on the back of an envelope like somebody's grandmother, and she was standing in the aisle looking so completely lost that I just walked over and started helping. And she looked up at me, and she had this way of looking right at you, like she wasn't scared of you, like she'd already decided you were a decent person, and now it was your job not to prove her wrong. I walked her through the whole list. Took 45 minutes. I did not need to take 45 minutes. I gave her my number in case the faucet thing didn't work out, and she texted me 2 days later. The faucet's fine, but there's a shelf situation. A shelf situation. That was the whole first year of us, basically. Shelf situations. We were together almost 4 years. 4 years. And they were the good ones. The ones you don't know are the good ones until later. She's a preschool teacher. She spends her whole day with 3-year-olds, and she still had patience left over for me at the end of it, which, if you knew me, is a small miracle. She used to hum when she cooked. Off key, always. She'd fall asleep on me during movies and get mad at me the next day for how the movie ended, like it was my fault she missed it. I loved her so much it scared me, and I think that's part of what I did next. Not an excuse. There is no excuse. I just think when something's that good, some broken part of a person starts wondering if they deserve it. And instead of sitting with that quietly like an adult, I did the worst thing I have ever done in my life. Okay, Here's the part I hate. It was a birthday party. My buddy Dave, I've known him since we were 9. It was his 30th, big thing, a bar out in Long Island City. Everybody was there. Mary wasn't. She had a work thing early the next morning, one of those parent breakfasts at the school, so she stayed home, and she kissed me at the door and told me to have fun and not do anything stupid. Her exact words, "Don't do anything stupid." And I drank. I drank way too much, more than I had in years, the kind of drunk where the room's got a tilt to it. And there was a woman there. I didn't know her, friend of a friend of a friend, and she was paying attention to me, a lot of attention, leaning in, hand on the arm, that whole thing. And a sober me would have said, "I've got a girlfriend," and gone to find Dave. But I wasn't sober. I was so far from sober I could barely see straight. And I let it happen. I'm not going to paint you a picture, because there's no version of the picture that isn't ugly, and you don't need it, and I don't want to say it. I'll just tell you the true thing, which is, I betrayed her. The one person who trusted me completely. In one stupid, drunk, weak stretch of a night, I threw her away. And it gets worse, because somebody at that party had their phone out. I don't even know who. To this day, I don't know who did it. But somebody filmed part of it, thought it was funny, and it went into some group chat, and it bounced around the way those things do. And about a week later, it landed on Mary's phone. She didn't scream at me. That's the thing people expect, right? The big blow up. She didn't. She just showed me the phone. She held it up so I could see it, and she watched my face, and she watched me realize there was nothing, not one single thing I could say. And she just went very, very quiet. And she said, "I need you to leave." That's it. I need you to leave. I have replayed that room 1,000 times. The quiet was so much worse than any yelling could have been. She left me. Or I guess I'd already left her at that party. But she made it real. She blocked me on everything. Moved some of her stuff out of my place while I was at work so she wouldn't have to see me. Her friends stopped talking to me, which, fair. And I want to be honest about the months after, because I think people picture a guy who just brushes himself off. That was not me. I hated myself. I mean that plainly. I'd wake up in the morning and there'd be about 4 seconds before I remembered. And then I'd remember. And it would land on my chest like a car. Every single day. I stopped sleeping right. I lost weight I didn't have to lose. I wrote her letters I never sent because I knew that a letter from me was just me trying to feel better, and she didn't owe me feeling better. I tried to fix it the way I fix everything, with my hands, with effort, and there was nothing to fix, because the thing I broke wasn't a boiler. It was her ability to trust me, and you can't solder that back. I made my peace, as much as you can, that I'd lost her, that I deserved to lose her, that she was going to go on and have a good life and meet somebody who wasn't me, somebody who'd never make her hold up a phone with shaking hands. And honestly, some part of me wanted that for her. The better part. The small part that wasn't drowning. And then It was a Sunday, early. I remember it was raining, that gray New York rain that doesn't really commit. My phone rang, and it was a number I didn't know, and I almost didn't pick up. I've thought about that too, how close I came to letting it ring. It was her mother, Diane, Mary's mom, who had every reason on this earth to hate me, and did. And her voice was, it wasn't a voice you argue with. She said, "Robert, there's been an accident." Mary had gone on a trip, a little getaway, a group thing, one of those bus tours upstate to see the leaves. A bunch of people from her building went, and on the way, on some mountain road, the bus went off the road, off the edge of it. It went down. People died. I need to say that because it's part of it, and because it's not mine to make small. Real people on that bus did not come home. It was on the news for about a day and a half, and then the city moved on the way the city does. But for the families, it didn't move on. And Mary was one of the ones they pulled out alive. Barely. Broken up bad, but alive. And Diane's on the phone, and she's crying, and she says the thing I will hear in my head until I die. She says, "I hate you for what you did to my daughter. I want you to understand that hasn't changed. But she's asking for you. She keeps asking for you. She woke up in that hospital, and the only thing she's said over and over is, 'Where's Robert? Why isn't Robert here?' And I don't understand it, and I don't like it, but she's my baby, and she's calling your name, so you're going to get in your car, and you're going to come." I don't remember the drive. I honestly don't. I remember getting there, fluorescent lights and that hospital smell, and Diane not looking at me in the waiting room, and then a nurse walked me in, and Mary she was so small in that bed, wrapped up, tubes, a machine doing some of her breathing for a while there. And I stopped in the doorway because I didn't think I had the right to walk in. And her eyes opened, and she found me, and she smiled. This tiny, broken, exhausted smile. And she said, "Robert, you came. I love you." And the whole room just froze. Diane's face, the nurse, me, because that couldn't be right. I was the guy she'd blocked. I was the phone in her shaking hand. I need you to leave. And here she was, reaching for my hand like none of it ever happened. Because for her, it hadn't. The doctors explained it later. Careful. Lots of words like retrograde and trauma to the region and we can't predict. But the short version, the human version, was this. A stretch of her memory was just gone, erased. The last several months of it, the party, the video, the breakup, the worst thing I ever did, and the price she'd made me pay for it. All of it wiped clean off the board. In Mary's mind, we were still together. We were still the two people from the good years. She woke up from a bus going off a mountain and reached for the man she loved. And by the cruelest, strangest mercy I've ever heard of, that man was still me. I want to tell you I did the right thing in that moment. I didn't do anything. I just held her hand and I cried. And she thought I was crying because she'd nearly died. And I was. I was crying for that. But I was also crying because I knew, even then, standing in that room, that I was holding a secret now. A big one. And I didn't put it down. The recovery was long. God, it was long. Months in that hospital. Then rehab, a different place, learning things again, how to hold a fork steady, how to stand, how to trust her own legs. And I was there. Every day I wasn't at the store, and a lot of days I traded shifts so I could be. I learned how to help her with the exercises. I learned the names of all her nurses. I learned to read the little chart on the wall. And here's the thing nobody warns you about. Doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing can look exactly the same from the outside. From the outside, I was the devoted boyfriend who never left her side. And I was. But I was also a man who was letting her love him under false pretenses every single day, and telling myself it was for her. She needs stability. She can't handle a shock. The doctors said no stress. All true. All also very, very convenient for a coward. A year went by. A whole year. And she came back, slowly, so slowly. Mary came back to herself. She got strong again. She got that spark back, the humming off key, the looking right at you. But her body didn't fully make it home. She walks with a difference now, a hitch, a slowness on one side, some days a cane. She gets tired in a way she never used to. It's noticeable. You'd notice. And you know what she said to me once she was stable enough to really talk? She was sitting on the edge of the bed, catching her breath after the exercises, and she looked up at me and she said, "You stayed, even like this, even with," and she kind of gestured at her own leg, "all of this. You didn't leave." And she was so grateful. She thought I was some kind of good man. She thought I was loyal. And that's what finally broke me. Not guilt about the party anymore. It was that. It was her thinking I was loyal, when the truth was, she was only with me because she'd forgotten the one fact that would have sent her running. I was living inside a mistake in her brain. Every "I love you" was addressed to a man who didn't exist. I couldn't do it. I want to be clear, because I've told this part to exactly no one. A lot of men, I think, would have just kept the secret, married her, taken it to the grave. And on my worst nights, I understand that man completely. But I couldn't be him. Because if we built a whole life on a wound in her head, then I wasn't loving Mary. I was just keeping a version of her that was easier for me. And she deserved to make the choice with all the information, even if the choice was to throw me out all over again, even then. So one evening, she was strong by then, steady, back in her own apartment, laughing again. I sat her down, and I told her. I told her everything. The party, the drinking, what I did, the video, that she had found out, that she had held up her phone and watched my face and told me to leave, that she had left me completely, and that she'd been right to, that the several months she couldn't remember, I was the reason those months had been the worst of her life. I told her the man she'd been thanking for staying was the man who'd broken her in the first place. And she went quiet. That same quiet. God, that quiet. She didn't yell. She just looked at me. Right at me. That way she has, where she's not scared of you. And the tears started, just running down her face, and she didn't wipe them. And she didn't say anything for the longest time. And I was crying too. I was a mess, and I was swearing to her. I told her it wasn't on purpose, that I was drunk out of my mind, that I've hated myself every day since, that I would understand, I would completely understand if she wanted me gone, that I'd earned gone, twice now. And she reached out with that hand that had to learn how to hold a fork again. And she pulled me in, and she put her arms around me, and she held on, and against my shoulder, quiet, she said, "I love you." I know who you are now, all of it. And I love you. I don't fully understand it. I've stopped trying to. I asked her later how she could, knowing. And she said something I think about all the time. She said the man who did that thing at the party and the man who sat by her bed for a year learning her nurses' names were the same man, and she'd gotten to know both of them. In the wrong order maybe, but both. And she was choosing the whole person, not the version, the whole person. Flaws welded right in. She said at least she knew exactly what she was getting, which is more than most people can say. I asked her to marry me a few weeks after that. Not some big production. We were in her kitchen. She was making that terrible off-key humming, and I couldn't hold it anymore. I got down. My knees are shot from crawling around under sinks for 15 years, so it wasn't graceful. And I asked her. And she looked down at me with those eyes, and she said, "Yes," before I even really finished. So that's where we are now. We're planning a wedding, small one. Her mom's coming around, slowly, but she's coming. Diane pulled me aside last month and said, "I still remember what you did, but I've watched what you've done since, and I've decided to weigh them both. That's about the best I've ever been offered, and it's more than I deserve," and I said thank you. And every day, when Mary humming in the kitchen, when she takes my arm because her leg's tired, when she calls me a good man, I remember that she chose this with her eyes open, that she knows the worst of me and stayed anyway, which is the one thing I could never give myself, the being forgiven. So that's the truth, the whole thing. The part nobody at the wedding will know is just, How close I came to letting them believe I was always the good guy. I wasn't. I'm not. I'm just a man who did a terrible thing and got a second chance he didn't earn and decided the only way to be worth it was to stop lying. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the man she already thinks I am. It's the only work I've ever been afraid I wasn't good enough for. But I'm going to show up for it. Every day. The way you show up for the thing that matters. Her list is still in my wallet, by the way. The envelope, the shelf situation, 4 years later. I never could throw it out.